November the 11th, all the way through till December 6th, Venus, the goddess of beauty and love, kindness, money, friendship, and all things good, will be moving through the sign of Capricorn, where I call her the boss babe. She's going to be moving in this part of the sky, however, in a very rare formation. She will come into what we call the bending of the nodes of fate, particularly the south bending, which is an indication with the south node in Libra that she is asking each of us to let go of some part of our life that is no longer useful and no longer necessary in relationship to not only the Libra part of our sky, but also the Capricorn part of our sky. We're going to talk about how this might look for the world at large, but also each of us individually. This very sensitive point that she's transiting hasn't been transited by her, the bending of the nodes of fate this way at the south bending for 18 and a half years. And so to compare how this transit feels between November 11th and December 6th with the bending almost exact around November 15th is to have to time travel back and go back to your life 18 years ago. I'll give you the dates of that shortly so you can compare notes. Also, she's moving through Capricorn just like she did last year, January 23rd to February 16th last year. This time it's November 11th to December 6th. This time she is co-present with Pluto, unlike last year, for a while until Pluto scoots out of Capricorn on November 19th. So we'll bring that into the story as well, what her last conversation and a co-presence with Pluto might mean for each of us in our lives, individually and collectively. When we do this kind of video, Venus is a feel-good video. I'm not covering a lot of world astrology, just a bit in the beginning. It's called mundane astrology, and then we'll go to your sign. If you listen for your sun, it could be about your purpose and career. Listen for your moon sign, it could be about your home, your nest, and how you feel about your life. And yet the rising sign is the character you play in this simulation avatar type idea. It's the game player character. Your sun could be the real you. So consider that these are subtle ways to see the sky. Try listening for sun, moon, and rising. Try all three. See how it fits with you. Speaking of which, first of all, a couple of things. My name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm trying to help you time your best life using astrology as a navigational tool. So if you like that kind of content, I put out 30 videos a month almost, and it's always all signs. So come aboard, like, subscribe, and give me a try. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the month. The only promotion I'm sharing for this month, it ends on November the 15th, is you can get my 2025 Time Your Best Life videos, 2 hours for each single sign. The bundle is a discount, so you can share with friends and family. These are private video links that you will receive and downloadables as well by email from me November 17th. This is my fundraiser, guys. It's how I buy microphones and ring lights and hire video editors and stuff like that to help this channel grow. And I need a new laptop right now. So you're purchasing of this pre-sale product, and it never goes public, is me saying thank you for supporting the channel. And it's just for you guys. It's not on YouTube land. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about my jewelry just quickly. I am sponsoring these guys. I love them. Otter Spirit. I told them I would cover them on Venus videos. And this is amethyst, and this is moonstone, and this is my own bracelet in the middle. And what I love about these guys is it's zodiacal jewelry. It's all catered to your sign. So this is, for example, the moonstone. I am guided by grace, right? And then it is for the Cancer, Libra, Virgo, Scorpio folk. But then the amethyst, which I love, I am letting go of fear and embracing peace. Don't we all need that? And again, that is for Aquarius, Pisces, Capricorn, and Aries. And they have trio bracelets. I've just ordered a really exotic looking like Labradorite trio bracelet for Aquarius. And when I get that, I'll share that with you as well. In the link below, 20% off. That's what you get because you're a lunatic, because you're one of my people. So it's 20% off for any bracelets you buy from Otter Spirit. And they also serve otters by helping otters. Somehow, I should know more, like in the wild, rehoming otters, helping otters survive, whatever they do. They're Otter Spirit jewelry. These are grade A gems. They're AAA certified gemstones. They're good quality. All right, so let's go ahead and let's discuss the Venus story. I am really excited by this, but I'm also a little bit nervous. It's coming in the heels of this election, and this election is gnarly. It's all F. I just did a video that goes out Monday. I'm recording this November 2nd for my Patreon community, and you guys get this much later, maybe 6 days later, I don't know. And if you can check it out, come to my Patreon, but community early access ad free and a bunch of other perks. But you know something, All of the videos I've done, I've predicted Kamala, and the election panel I had on, I predicted a Kamala win, and then I did a Horary chart on it, and I'm afraid to put it out Monday because it looked better for Donald Trump than it did for Kamala in the Horary, and I'm just afraid to be trolled for one thing, but also just afraid that I'm not that good of a Horary reader and I did the divination chart wrong. But I'm going to put it out there. I don't need to be right. I don't need to be perfect. I'm trying different tools of astrology to make predictions. Sometimes I'm accurate. Like I got the assassination attempt timing on Trump and warned of it. I got the VP pick would be Walz. I got that Joe Biden would no longer be running for president again. And that one I declared back in March of 2023. I kept saying it over and over again. So, I have a good 3 for 3 on political predictions, but this will be me feeling fearful about that Monday video. I'm recording this on Saturday. Oh. All right. So the next thing I want to say, Venus. Well, let me show you the sky. Let's talk about what she's up to. But I also want to alert you to the concept of the bending of the nodes of fate, because some of you might be born with a planet at the south or north bending. And if that's the case, that planet is an incredibly powerful story in your chart. We often look at the bending of the nodes for synastry as well. I have a link I'm going to put in the description box below by a really beautiful article that makes it very simple to understand how to use the nodes of fate. And her name is AliceSparklyCat.com, and it's an article she wrote. And I just think it's a really well done article. I always share great content when I find it. Now, I first learned about the nodal benders, or the nodes of fate bending, with Adam Ellenbus when I studied with him in 2018. I'm sure he's still teaching it. So this is a Hellenistic astrology tool or technique. Let me show you the sky so you can see what I mean. And we will be doing each sign shortly. So hang in there. First of all, let's talk about the sky in terms of where Venus will be moving. Like if you wanted to compare notes, which you could compare notes to like her transit in January last year, 2024, through to February 16th, 2024. So you could compare that. She was moving through this part of the sky then. However, this is November 11th to December 6th, and it's a different story because you see Pluto's here and she's co-present with Pluto until he leaves on the 19th. So she's coming in to be hanging with Pluto November 11th to the November 19th timeframe. And last year, Pluto was hanging out here in January already at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and she was not communicating at all with him. And Venus-Pluto stories are about toxic love, fatal attractions, the dark side of love, power, and money stories. And of course, we are at the tail end of Pluto and Capricorn since 2008. But coming into the election itself, having her here in the aftermath could spell a time of turbulence regarding the election results. Now, not normally do I look at a Venus-Pluto and say election turbulence and results. However, this is also a planet that is going to be happening in the part of the chart for Kamala Harris, the candidate who is a female running for office, in her very difficult and very challenging part of the sky that is her 8th house. And in this regard, it is a difficult time for her about something that is already difficult, like the 8th house is secrets. She's got the asteroid for scandal, Salacia, natally in her 8th house. Pluto is the dark side of power as well, and money. And it's possible, I'm not saying it's probable, but it's possible that she's going to go through an 8th house difficult narrative beginning around November the 11th to December the 8th. She's also a Libra rising. And then this is her place 27 degrees of Libra. Pluto is squaring her sun and squaring her moon. She is a full moon baby. She has a moon in Aries. She has a sun in Libra, and Pluto until the 19th is in a classical sign-based tight square to sun and moon for her. She's been going through this square to her sun and moon on and off for 4 years. It's nothing new, but it's just saying it's still playing out here. And Venus is going to operate in context of being in the same house, co-present with Pluto and Venus. That doesn't mean they don't have to touch. They're like, if I'm in the same house as you, I can hear you, like, singing in the shower, right? They're in the same house. They can communicate, just not deep and intimate, but they're talking to each other. This is Ceres. She's like a scythe, a reaper, a harvester, She can be a sickle of some kind of ending sometimes in the stories of our lives. You'll notice that Mars and Pluto are no longer in a sign-based opposition. That changed on the 3rd, 4th of November. This is now an out-of-sign opposition. And in the ancient tradition, we do not count it. Well, in, say, other traditions, it's still an aspectual opposition. As she is moving through this part of the sky, she will come into this part of, this is the south node, and the planet clockwise, in the clockwise direction. Oh, clockwise. Yeah, yeah. The clock moves this way. I swear I always get clockwise. I'm dyslexic. You know, I love mix up my left and right all of the time. It's pathetic. All right. So when things are moving clockwise, they are moving. Oh, I always get this mixed up. Yes. Okay. So we're going to move through time, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Yeah, we're moving this way. This is the way that the time changes. You're going to make this stuff up. So yes, here it is. We have this south node here and moving clockwise. Venus will square it. That means she's at the south bending. The node of south node of fate is she's at the crisscross bending of the south node of fate. What does that mean exactly? It means that something needs to be released in the world and individually as well. Look at her go. Let's watch her come into the exact 5 degrees, squaring the north and south node here. This is kind of a part of our lives where we want to let go of something connected to Libra, but through the pivot point of Capricorn. So would we be letting go of something to do with peace and peace treaties? Israel's ascendant is in this part of the sky. We'll be letting go of agreements we've made one-on-one relationship style. And we'll be also applying those changes to 10th house matters. So we look at the Venus placement as a critical activation of destined change. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at the last time Venus was squaring the south node this way 18 years ago. Not that your stories will be exactly the same. They will never be exactly the same. They will, however, be somewhat similar. I'll get the date for you now. So I did take some notes down for us today, and I want to remind myself, you know, that the nodes of fate in 2023, July, moved into the Aries Libra axis. So she did actually come to the south bending of the nodes of fate back in February, around the 7th of February of 2024. And she is here again November 15th of 2024. And back in February of 24, it was 18 degrees that she was sitting in Capricorn, squaring the node at 18 degrees, south node at 18 degrees of Libra. And she crossed over the ascendant of Israel in October when we are having the war, as did Mars. And so the whole war starting up in the Middle East was indicating this is a Venus story. Israel is a Libra rising. When Venus is at the bending of the south node in her kingdom of Libra, it is very much a story for the world about the situation of war and lack of peace currently happening in the Middle East. So if you look to the events of February 27, 2024, I'm going to tell you what happened then in a minute. We're going to see comparables, especially regarding that Middle East situation. But what about your life? What about what happened in your life? You saw this in February of 1968 and November of 1968. You saw this in February of 1987, a one-off, February of 1987. You saw this in January of 2005. And again in November of 2005. So these are the times historically you can go back to. You know, in 1968, we had a lot of problems. We had the assassination of Martin Luther King, and we had the assassination of Robert Kennedy. We had the whole incumbent president deciding not to run and the vice president taking the spot. We're living through the same energy of 1968. So this nodal square of Venus happened back then as well to the south node, or the bending of the nodes of fate. And in February of 1987, I know we all go, I can't remember what I was doing in February of 1987, but if you really try hard, you might find these stories are going to resonate, because when I get to your sign, you can compare it to these dates. And then January of 2005 and November of 2005 are other comparables for you. And I'll try to bring this up for the all signs portion. Now, what happened on February 7th in the war that was ongoing in the Middle East of any kind of note? So in February of 2024, on the 7th, exact day that Venus hit the bending of the nodes of fate, particularly she was at the south bending for letting go or surrender or disappointment or loss. What we saw was the news headline was Netanyahu rejects Hamas peace ceasefire and hostage release deal, rejected it. And then we saw in the same month of February, because she's going to be at the bending of the nodes of fate, not just on the day, but in the tone of the quality of her transit for 3 weeks. Also, we had the flower massacre near the end of February. So we saw things that were pretty horrific. It's not just a lack of peace. South Node leaks peace out. Peace treaties are Libra. And also South Node in Libra right now is breaking alliances. Hegemonies are crumbling and new alliances like the BRICS nations are forming. So old alliances fall away and crumble and new ones come into place. So we've got this kind of replay of what February was about. It was pretty awful stuff, but it was also just simply the rejection of peace in the Middle East by the leader of the nation of Israel. So there you go. There's a story for you. We'll see what happens, but I have no doubt that this will bring us right into the crux of the war in the Middle East, simply because once the election is done, even if they're still counting ballots, even if it's still undecided, this is going to be where the Middle East escalates, because basically it will. You'll see, because the Democrats were basically telling Netanyahu to lay low because they don't want to lose the election because of horrific shit over there. But I mean, once the election is done, it's a done deal. There's nothing, there's nothing that's going to control the Middle East situation, really, or if there was even a modicum of control over it, that kind of thing. All right. So here we have it. Here we have the sky. And I'm just showing you the bending of the nodes of fate. Are you somebody who has a planet near 5 degrees of this particular sign of Capricorn? Because that planet is going to be also your natal planet at the bending of the nodes of fate on the 15th, 16th of November. And that planet is going to be activated by a request from the South Node to let go, surrender, and release something. And you may look, if that's the case, listen carefully. I'm going to give you an astrology lesson. Say you had I'm going to give it with the 3 degrees. Okay, so we're going to go from 2 to 8 degrees. If you have a planet from 2 to 8 degrees of Capricorn, then it is at the bending of the South Node in the middle of November with Venus. If that planet sits there and your planet is Mercury, look to your Mercury ruled houses. That will be set. Your Mercury ruled houses will be your Gemini house and your Virgo house, where you also need to let go of things. So that planet's ruling those houses and will help you let go of things in those houses, release, surrender, let go, or just experience a sense of disappointment. When it comes to Venus being there, so you have Venus in Capricorn, she rules the Libra and Taurus houses of your whole sign natal chart. Look to those houses for collateral energetics. Similarly, Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius in the traditional astrology. Look to those houses should Jupiter sit up there near the bending of the node of fate point, the South Node of fate bending where Venus is sitting. That planet is getting activated. And finally, Venus and whatever planet you have up there, if it's Saturn rules Aquarius and Saturn rules the sign of Capricorn in your whole sign house, and there may be collateral energies there. And last but not least, the sun rules Leo and the moon rules Cancer. So just say you have those planets up here with Venus close. Let's go from 2 to 8 degrees of Capricorn. They're getting enmeshed into the story. Oh, your Venus is there. Well, that's your Venus return. And it bakes in a 9-month feeling that you're at a perpetual baked in, like fired up in a kiln, a clay story of for a whole 9 months till the next Venus return. I'm basically in the thick of this thing. I'm basically trying my best to let go of something. It stamps into a Venus return chart, which is its whole other story. All right. So the other thing I wanted to mention about this is not just the co-presence of Pluto and Venus at the bending of the nodes of fate. And in my weekly Monday videos, I cover everything she does by transit, all the planets she talks to. I don't leave anybody out. Okay. So you might want to definitely like and subscribe to be a part of that story with me. But she does want to form some solid balanced outcomes because she continually wants to flow in a sextile to Saturn, a sextile to the nature of Venus, and a sextile to Neptune. And as this transit progresses from November 11th to December the 6th, she's trying her damnedest to work magical, positive outcomes with, of course, Saturn in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces. And every week we do astrology on my channel. We'll talk about it. One of the more exciting bits of the sky is when she trines Uranus, and that's going to happen near the end of this transit, closer to the first week of December. Positive and happy surprises come through our sky. Thank you, Uranus. Thank you, Algol. Could be a wealth surprise. Thank you, Venus. And those things are later in the story. And I will cover some of our stories here, not all of them. That we're saving that for the Monday videos. In the meantime, what I am going to talk about for each sign, for sure, is I'm going to talk about the bending of the nodes of fate moment. There is also a moon on the 15th, 16th, and that's going to be an exalted full moon conjunct Uranus. The moon will be dark and invisible on the 15th, 16th, and 17th. Well, she is at the bending of the node of fate, the south node of fate. She's a south bender. That's what the article calls it by the other astrologer. I like that. She's a south bender. Okay, and I know in the comments people will ask me, what if I have a planet at 5 degrees of Cancer? Then you have a planet at the bending, the north bending, okay, of the node of fate. But we're not covering that because we're talking about Venus. All right, so don't forget the nodes are moving. It just means that that planet is at the bending of the nodes in the current time frame. Any planets near 5 degrees of Capricorn and 5 degrees of Cancer. And because the nodes are moving backwards, like towards the 1 degree of Libra, they move retrograde, then that is simply that the planets, we've all lived through probably some of us, anybody who has had planets natally placed in Capricorn or Cancer have been under the repeat energies of the bendings of the nodes of fate, okay? With this particular eclipse cycle, those planets have been square those north and south nodes. So that's deeper astrology than you're probably wanting to know about. Whoa, what else is going on here? Capricorn represents home, land, property, the homeland, the territory of the nation of Israel. This is Venus asking for let go, surrender. This is the Vestal flame of devotion, also considered to be a sacred priestess archetype. Who knows what this is? Maybe. Remember, the ceasefire was not to be conceded by Netanyahu. He says he's going to continue his military incursion. So he refused peace, right? We'll see what happens this time. Is it more south node loss of peace when peace is possible? Because with Lebanon being a Virgo rising, every time Lebanon has had eclipses in Virgo Pisces, which start in January, they've been in horrendous civil and conflict with neighbor wars. They've been the subject of attempts by regime changes by their neighbor, Israel. And honestly, it's not been good. So if Lebanon's the new Gaza, I wouldn't be surprised in the new year. And I don't see, unless there's a massive revolt in the citizens of the country of Israel, I don't see any change in the leadership's policies, which is to create a greater Israel. Google it, which means to take land from Lebanon, Syria, Sinai Peninsula, because it's a religious thing, guys. It's also an economic thing, but it's also a religious thing. Okay, it's called Zionistic. There's Zionists who are not religious, and there's Zionists who are religious. The religious faction, a lot of that is in charge right now, and it's their promised land. So it's coming from the same kind of religious fundamentalism that you would see when you say that there's a radical Islamic, suicide bomber, or a kamikaze pilot, for the empire during the time of World War II from Japan. It's like it's an ideological stance regarding the land that Israel thinks belongs to them, coming from a religious perspective, right? And you can't reason with religious perspectives, right? You just can't, not when it's that kind of perspective. So let's talk about your sign, and we're going to start with Aries. And anything else I want to say, just in case I've forgotten anything about this? The south node of the bending story for Kamala Harris is her 8th house of death. And for Donald Trump, as a Leo rising, it's in his 6th house of bad fortune. It's a difficult placement for them both. Let's go ahead and talk about this guy. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's see. Looks to me like you're going to see Venus moving again through your 10th house, like she did last January 23rd to February 16th. Instead, this time, though, she is co-present with Pluto. It can indicate a time of acceleration in your career, more wealth, more power, but also more intensity. Is it possible with this intense Venus-Pluto co-presence that while you are more wealthy, more popular, and more successful, you're also asking deeper questions about what true authentic wealth and power mean to you? Because this is the last time Venus and Pluto will be together in this sign in your lifetime. It's the grand finale. So are you going to finish something here that you had started since 2008 about a kind of deconstruction, reconstruction of career and reputation matters? And Venus is helping you finish strong in her boss babe Capricorn resourceful shoulder pad outfit. The woman in a pantsuit up there. Now, possibly because there's also this bending of the nodes of fate around the 15th of November. She, just like she hit that same bending at that same place last in February 7th. What were you having to let go of in February? What did you have to let go of in January, November of 2005? What did you have to let go of in February of 1987? Those are the other times that Venus was at the bending of the South Node. Did you have to let go of a career ambition? Did you have to let go of some, like on a very subtle note, I have an Aries sun. I let go of launching Sky Reader in March, April. It was all building up for my February sales page, and I decided I didn't have time or energy because I just didn't, and I pushed it till the fall, which I'm just finishing my last class today, which is wonderful. Great group of students this time around, but ultimately, it's like you might just want to surrender or release or let go of something to do with career matters and also to do with matters of your relational house. Now, this is your marriage house. Of course, you're not going to all get divorced here. That would be ridiculous, but it could fracture the relationships that you're in. Give me a minute. It could. It could cause a relationship fracture. So be cautious with that. The Vestal Flame is a celibate, sacred priestess who's unmarried, unwed, has no children, has no sex life. So be cautious about something going on here that's different than last year, different than last February for sure, that you don't come into you may have to let go of some relationship agreements anyway. It doesn't have to be the marriage contract, but agreements you made to somebody contractually, for instance, time to say, I changed my mind, I'm letting go of that agreement. And that's classic South Node, Libra, 7th house storylines. But with Venus at the top of the sky, is the letting go of the 7th house because of things that are happening in the 10th. Is something taking off in your career that you really have to attend to in order to succeed because it's destined. But you also have to let go of obligations in the 7th. 7th house is 10 houses from the 10th house. That makes it literally the audience, the reception, the fan club, the marketplace, the people that the public that your 10th house serves, the visible people, the 10th house from the 10th. So it's kind of possible too. You might just have to let go of some of that focus in your life, but you're definitely looking at a powerful Venus at the top of the sky. And it looks to me like there's a great deal of success that this Venus can bring you at the bending of the nodes of fate when she's in the top of your sky, co-present with Pluto. And in her general sextile relationship over this transit to both Saturn and Neptune, the feeling is how can you also stabilize and bring into more solid form some of the money you make from international foreign lands and revenue, for example, borderless income, stabilize some of the things you wish to do in your downtime, your solitude. She's giving you an option here to find some measure of solace and solitude and how your alone time can be very nourishing for you. Well, at the same time, you're in a successful career part of your time, your story. If you have any addictions, this trine sextile to Neptune is how to be able to let go of the addictions or self-undoing and bad habits and patterns, because Saturn makes it possible. Saturn stations direct on the 16th, 15th. So he's able to go forward and help you with that. I'll be doing a whole video on Saturn stationing direct. Finally, Venus is moving with powerful Pluto as the Lord of your second house. This is your money, your earnings, and resources with Uranus there, especially as I mentioned. You can find that this can jolt you into some really exciting, destined storylines that increase your financial well-being. Most likely, positive money surprises clearly being seen by you in that first week of December. So looking forward to seeing how that works for all of you. And then we're going to move on to the next sign. I hope I'm not pinned to the Aries. Let's take a look. Nope, I'm not. That's good. Well, I'm not pinned to Aries, but my computer thinks I am. Another one of those astral gold things that drives me nuts. Yes, it's a good software, guys. I'm not going to say it's not, but for Mac, but it's like it just locks on signs all the time and host systems, and it won't let me change it. Back to whole sign. Give me a minute. Oh, that was painful. That was so painful. All right, we're going to go to the correct sign. Taurus. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. Okay, like, since 2008, Pluto and Venus have been chit-chatting in your ninth house. Here we go again. January 23rd to February 16th. You didn't get this last time. She transited through your ninth house. This is a last closing chapter. On November 11th to December 6th, as she's moving through your ninth house, she's co-present with Pluto until the 19th. There's something going on November 11th to the 19th where you're really powering up some significant alignment with your life's purpose, with the meaning of one's life, dharma, your spiritual philosophy, the sense of purpose and meaning in life. These are ninth house stories. However, Venus is a luck goddess in a luck house. This is called a Lakshmi, or goddess of Lakshmi, prosperity and wealth. This is the house that belongs to her in ancient Indian astrology. And I do see it as a lucky house as well. In Western, traditional Hellenistic astrology, it's the fifth house, but both of these are dharma houses, purpose. And so having a luck goddess in a luck house once a year for 3 weeks is wonderful. Right? Don't mind it, sometimes twice a year. And when she's up here, she's talking with Pluto, and this can be some wealth for you. This could be some literal money, wealth, luck. So keep your eye on that ball. That's November 11th to the 19th. And she's ending long-term stories to do with power and wealth connected to father figures, lucky breaks, higher education, foreign lands, travel, and publications, including book publishing. You'll notice that she will come into a aspect called being at the bending of the South and North Node. Particularly, she's on the 15th and 16th, hitting the bending she's at the South bending. And this is indicating you need to let go of something. You tried to let something similar go on February, all right, of 2024, when she was also doing the same thing, right? So it's not the first time. That was at 18 degrees. Now it's at 3 degrees. So what are you letting go of that has to do with work, pets, rentals, debts as well, letting go of debts. Now, work can be letting go of a job, literally. South Node there, and Venus is in the house of one's dharma and a greater purpose in life. And you may be at a crucible, or were at a crucible last February, and maybe you did let go of a particular position in your work, or maybe you let go of some situation involving a rental property, or some situation involving a domestic animal, a pet, or even something to do with a karmic debt relationship. These are subtle, but karmic debt relationships fall on that 6-12 axis. And so it could have led to a kind of ending or letting go of that relationship. It doesn't have to be love, just even a friendship, and releasing that at that time. Travel to foreign countries is where she is. And maybe you did travel last February to foreign lands, and maybe you're going to do it again on this round, right? November 11th to December 6th. And if that's true, it's not just about letting go. The South Node represents past lives and things in your karmic basket that you've taken forward into this life. And you may just be having an opportunity to take, it's not bad, a destined travel opportunity to a far off foreign shore that feels like a place you've been in other lifetimes. It feels familiar. It feels like you have a karmic connection connection to that land or that place or those peoples. And when she's all in a love up trine she's in a love of sextile to Saturn and Neptune. It's really good for increasing solid friendships, deepening the friendships you already have, sifting through friends for the true friends. Groups of belonging, especially spiritual community, can be a part of what you wish to create during this transit. And Venus is also, flowing to a house of career gains from a ninth house place. Human resources is there, honestly. So you may get some perks in the workspace from human resources, new positions, more money, more success in your career. Also, she's flowing to your Uranus in the sign of you. And as that first week of December approaches, you may have some positive surprises to do with ninth house storylines. You carry the surprise, the change, the freedom, the rebellion in the sign of you. And Venus is saying, and I'm going to translate some of this surprise to academic surprises, book publication surprises may be connected to matters that are all about your spiritual philosophy or your spiritual path in life. Courts and legal matters belong to the ninth. She can bring you luck and wealth in winning in a legal or court situation that involves a judge's determination of an outcome. So, and with her flow to Juno in your seventh house as well, at the bending of the nodes point of the mid-November, you may also be able to form legal settlements and legal contracts that are highly beneficial to you and maybe even surprising you. It is the surprise that shows up the first week of December, and it can be very positive legal surprises as well. You thought the judge was going to rule against you, and the judge said, I'm ruling. Judge Judy said, I'm ruling on your behalf, in your favor in this matter. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. We have the Venus going into Capricorn on 11th of November to December 6th. You saw this before, okay, January 23rd last year to February the 16th, but you did not see this, okay, with Pluto here for the first part of it. So Pluto wasn't there at all last year. So Pluto, November 11th to the 19th, co-present with Venus, is like to finish something that you started to really deconstruct and reconstruct since 2008 to do with your chunky money. Now, that is your taxes. That is your investments in the stock markets. That is your inheritance money, shared spousal resources, and a divorce separation, money that you have through credit card companies and mortgages even. You're sharing it with other people, shareholder in a company. The bank owns half your house. You share the finances with the bank and the mortgage. So that royalty income, ad income on revenue, like on YouTube. So I can relate. I have a progressed Gemini sun, and this has been a big learning curve area for me since 2008. As Venus and Pluto, money goddess and a wealth god and a power god, kept connecting to each other in Capricorn in the 8th house. So it's a very big time here for finishing up those lessons and coming to the very final conclusion and, ending this narrative. And by November 19th, you'll never do this narrative again. You'll never be working these things again. Taxes, inheritances, spousal support, separation of spousal resources and assets, etc. And as I said, other income comes in chunks rather than earned paycheck stories. Now, the interesting thing is that Venus is also at the bending of the node, the south node bending, coming up on the 15th, 16th of November. I mean, you could feel it the 14th, 15th, and 16th of November. And you felt this before. You felt this February 7th of 2024. You also felt it in January, November of 2005. You also felt it in February of 1987. So these are times you might want to compare what you felt then and what you are having to experience now. And, Pluto's still there. So this bending of the nodes of fates involves all that intensity of an 8th house Pluto, a god of death in the house of death, a god of riches and wealth in a house of money and wealth. So there's a lot to say about this last turn of this bending. And this bending coming through the sky to the south node indicates in Venus's own kingdom that you're going to have to let go of things connected to children, fertility, pregnancy, creative projects, and or your entrepreneurial business endeavors, but also because the south node is what you let go of, you've also got a vestal flame of devotion. It's like probably an archetype of letting go of the stuff that no longer fires you up, doesn't light your fire. and leaving the fire here. What is the thing that sparks your enthusiasm, creativity? I just did a collage yesterday or 2 days ago with my daughter when the veil was thin, and I have a little line on my collage, spark your creativity, in there, because that's what I feel. I have lost my creative spark. So this could be a surrender of what doesn't serve you. Money stories are Venus here to get your creative spark or your procreative spark going. But Venus in the 8th house is all about, as well, secrets and toxic secrets to do with love and romance. And it's possible there's some toxic love and romance stories percolating during the bending of the nodes of fate time period. Did something pop out in February that was a toxic love story, hidden love story, romance stories with some toxic elements? And if that's in fatal attractions and all that weird stuff. Anyway, this could be back again in some way. Look to last February for evidence of that trend line. Maybe a little bit different without Pluto there, but Venus still in the 8th house could have brought some of those kinds of things to your attention last February. Venus is also flowing beautifully, okay, in a great sense of harmony with Saturn. And that also is with Neptune as time goes on during this transit. So she wants to stabilize your financial matters connected to your work and career, particularly things like incorporating investment incomes, derivatives, retirement funds. So she's doing a lot of stabilizing during this transit. And then she's flowing to Neptune for some career dreams come true financially. She does love up Uranus. If you make money especially on the wealth star algol, if you make any money from foreign land shores, digital income, borderless income and revenue, like I do, then this is a big jolt of success financially coming through the sky sometime later in the transit, like the first week of December. Finally, when Venus is in this alignment with Uranus, you could have deep spiritual awakenings, especially if they involve sexual intimacy or like tantric paths, that kind of thing. You could have a jolt of spiritual illumination coming off the sky in the first week of December. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, first of all, we have Venus in the 7th house, which is her travel zone between November 11th and December the 6th. This is a house of significant long-term love relationships. And when she's here, it favors your partner. If you're with a marriage partner, they're doing well. They're having some luck. They're feeling good. The marriage itself feels friendly and easy and better than it normally does. If you're single, it's not a bad transit to meet someone new, with the caveat that if you start dating somebody between November 11th and the 19th with Pluto co-present, you are going to bake in a very intense, cathartic love relationship. You might want to wait until dating someone new after November the 11th and skip that one altogether. You don't need to be in that intensity by starting a relationship under the energy of that signature. With Venus here, legal contracts go well, and things you have to sign on the dotted line, and vows and agreements are all very favorable for you and can bring wealth, and wealthy women in particular. Pluto Venus can be emergent in your life for some various, goodie bags for you. So wealthy women can serve you, rich women can serve you, rich females can serve you in this sky during this November 11th to December 6th timeframe. Well, November 11th to the 19th of November in particular. Venus is also at the south bending by November 15th, 16th, 14th, 15th, 16th. This is Venus saying, what do you need to let go of with homeland, property, real estate in relationship to business contracts, deals, contractual arrangements, including buying and selling property? Or do you need to let go of something in a significant long-term love relationship? You might not have to let go of the relationship, but maybe something to do with a domestic stuff. South Node is in the house of the home you would share with a significant other. Do you need to let go of some kind of agreements you've made with the one you're with about the way you guys live together or where you live together as well? And, and underneath the 4th house is your childhood and your ancestral line. And so maybe you're also revising your relationship to the archetype of marriage by revising your childhood stories and ancestral stories that have perhaps been not the best for you to be successfully happy in marriage, for example. Venus is flowing to Saturn in the ninth house and Neptune, and this is wonderful. That sextile opens up solid opportunities for foreign land travel, visas, passports, higher educational opportunities coming through other people towards you, suggestions by others that perhaps you'd like to go on this trip. Venus does rule the 11th house of the sibling one older than you, and therefore travel opportunities or educational opportunities about and with or connected to a sibling older can be in the mix here. In her trine to Uranus in the house of a sibling older than you by one, there is also lucky things happening in the life of that sibling that also benefit you financially as well. So especially if you are looking for windfalls or extra money from a sibling. It's so funny. My sister Nancy is a Cancer rising, and I'm giving her bonus money in the first week of probably January, but maybe it'll come through the first week of December. But whatever, Venus is flowing to Uranus in the first week of December before she exits the boss babe shoulder pads of Capricorn on December the 6th. Now, I'm just going to stop the share for a second, and I'll be right back. I need a little bit of water. Don't forget, if you're in the live premiere, hit that like button and subscribe. It does help me grow this channel, hopefully to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's a big ask, by the way. I've got 10,000 more to go. And I normally grow 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers a month. So help push me up above that. And that would really be so wonderful for you guys to help me get to that long-term goal. And we have it. We're moving on to the next sign. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. It has a story here for you. Venus in her Capricorn shoulder pads is going through the sky November 11th to December the 6th. This part of your sky, she did travel January 23rd this year, 2024 to February 16th. So it's not all brand new. She was moving in this part of the sky then, but without the co-presence of Pluto. And Pluto's here until the 19th of November. So between the 11th and the 19th, you got double your power, double your intensity. And their co-presence means that there's a Plutonian quality to Venus in your house of pets. Now, look, I just got to say, it can be the loss of an animal, right? Because this Ceres is a harvest reaper. Venus is, something you love or value or cherish. So it's possible a domestic pet may be getting ready to leave. It would be an elder pet because Saturn is in the house of death, sextiling Venus. So for some of you, it's time for that elder domestic pet to pass. And it may be occurring anytime between November 11th and the 19th. Now, life is life. I just let you know these things because life happens. Your own work can be going very well. You might be doing well financially with the boss, the colleagues, coworkers, employee-employer situations. It's also very positive or signing a new rental agreement or contract during this transit. If you want to rent a property out as a tenant or a leasee, or you want to be the landlord and, whatever, either which way you go, rentals of properties are going to be blessed by Venus here, especially in her sextile to Juno in the 4th house. And that's contracts regarding property and land. Venus is also quite capable here of being a picker-upper on your health matters, and she can improve your health while she travels the house of sickness. And you just might be enjoying your daily routines and your health routines and your work routines more than you usually do. With Pluto and Venus, you could pay down a debt. You could eliminate a debt that you've been struggling with, or you can consolidate debts, or you can refinance your debt into a longer, more enduring and stable format. So remortgaging, refinancing, changing your credit structures, etc. This is a transit that works with that only because of Saturn now direct in your 8th house, which is why we're talking about that, sextiling Venus. She reaches the bending of the nodes of fate, and this is an indicator for you of a need south node bending Venus. She's a south bender. Time to let go, release, and surrender some matters to do with your 3rd house connected as well to your 6th house. Okay, let's go through it. Is there some situation you need to let go of with a younger sibling that's karmic, one younger than you? Is there a situation with neighbors, aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews that you need to release? And it's karmic because she's in a karmic debt house. Is there a situation you need to let go of regarding travel opportunities, plans, or educational opportunities? Or are you going to take an opportunity to work, to do some professional education? But because it's the south node, maybe it's harnessing gifts, talents, and skills you've had before. And this would be learning something that you kind of feel familiar with. And even though you're studying to do something, it may feel like you've always known this stuff. So signing up for new courses that feel like, oh, this is right in my South Node basket of natural talents and gifts from other lives, that can work really well as well for how that South bending takes place. To compare notes, Venus was at the South bending February 7th of 2024, and the same stories could have applied, but the Pluto was not a part of it. Also, Venus was at the South bending in Capricorn in January of 2005 and November of 2005, February of 1987. These are places where you may say similar themes play out. Planets are all in different places, of course, so there's subtle differences to say the least, but you get the gist, right? Venus trining Saturn, Neptune in the eighth house is really good, as I mentioned, for refinancing mortgages, paying down debts, and working on new structures for money you share with your marriage type partner, including new tax structures as well. Venus is also flowing to Uranus in the 10th house on fixed star Algol. It is a wealth star in its best iteration. And she's in a money goddess in the 6th house of, debts and paying them off. But it's also work and career. And there's some positive work career surprises in the first week of December, before she leaves Capricorn, that she's trying to offer you. And it could be a bonus, a payment, a performance bonus. It could be a good performance review. It could be a raise, a promotion, but good money and career surprises coming the first week of December from Venus here in Capricorn, trining Uranus in your 10th house. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Venus is moving through your love and romance house. This is a fertility transit. It happens up to twice every year. So every 3 weeks, she goes through here once or twice a year, depends on the year. And she says you're fertile. So if you, a male, and your female partner don't wish to conceive a child at this point in your lives, be careful, because for some of you, this would be easy to get pregnant, basically. Now, Pluto there isn't not an ideal to try to get pregnant when Venus and Pluto are together. I'm not fond of that. So wait till after the 19th of November through to December 6th for honest, earnest attempts for conception. Venus here means good things are happening to you regarding your creativity, your muse, your inspiration, your sex and romance life. With Pluto here, it could be very deep intimacy, revealing secrets, soul-bearing, cathartic, transformative, David Data, the way of the superior man, that kind of weird stuff about, becoming enlightened through sexuality or having a transformation or cathartic moment. This is going to be very good, deep intimacy and romantic connection as well. Would I start a new relationship under this? Probably not, because it's pretty intense, but it's okay that it's here right now. And you're going to get this intensity in the love and romance department, November 11th to the 19th. Venus is a goddess of money, luck. Pluto is a god of wealth. You're in a money, luck, wealth window of time. And with the North Node in your chunky money house, there is a possibility of winning some money. This can look like a lottery win, for example. Know your limit, play within it. Just get one ticket. Don't listen to astrologers. This is for entertainment only, but it could be a lottery win. Is it the big one? Probably not. But at least there's possibility of luck upon luck. The house of good fortune, Venus in her joy. Venus with Pluto at wealth. So there's a bit of a wealth situation, through good luck, including a stock taking off, North Node in the 8th house of investments. Your children belong here. So if you already have kids, then your kids are here. So Venus always favors your children and brings positive developments in their lives, even if they're adults now, as she transits through this part of your sky. She comes to the bending of the nodes of fate, just like she did in February, by the way, of 24, and back in time, January and November of 2005, and February of 1987. So Venus at the bending of the nodes of fate is saying, south bending, you need to let go of something regarding money issues. And it could be romantic partners or children and financial matters. The South Node is in your 2nd house. And typically that can look like almost a release of a possession even. We possess things in the second house. We possess a lot of things. We could possess furniture. We can possess money. We can possess a car. South Node, Mercury combination. Some of you might be inclined to dispossess yourself of something that you really love and cherish, right? That's what that would be. But it also is possibly more subtle than that, like not letting go of a real object that you love, cherish, and brings you enjoyment, Venus in the fifth. But also maybe you're going to let go of some old value systems. You know, how your value systems are a Venusian concept, but the values are also of the second house. And so you might have some shifts that are dynamically moving your value meter around. You know, you valued faithfulness and loyalty, and suddenly you don't care. Well, whatever, honesty and truth, and you don't care. Whatever values you have, some of them are under destined change energies right now, right? Destined change is the nodes of fate. Financial letting go and surrender, okay? Connected to things you love and cherish, or situations with money and your lover, and money and your romantic partner, money and your children. Venus is in a sextile to the Saturn in the house of long-term love and committed love and business partners. This is stabilizing for you in a long-term love relationship and bringing in greater foundational strength during this transit. Also, Neptune bringing some of the dreamy parts of the romance, the rose-colored glasses, into a more solid form where it's not all about pie in the sky. It feels good, it looks good, you feel like you like this transit, you really do. You know, letting go, back to the bending of the nodes of fate, I just want to say one more thing. Venus is like basically perhaps offering you a chance to let go of some kind of, how would I describe this? Some kind of pleasure that you ingest, because the things that you eat and drink or put through your nose are second house facial things. And then South Node is to let go, and Sacred Flame is to be devoted to what you let go of. But, you know, priestesses were pretty, you know, they were celibate and everything. And Venus is in the house of what brings you pleasure. So I think you might be looking at a real turning point regarding letting go of something like a food style or a substance use pattern or something, maybe doing a bit of a mini, like, you know, dry run, like a sober November or something during this transit. She flows to the Uranus algal star in your ninth house. This could bring you some financial luck. She is, as I said, in a lottery win house, but, you know, Lakshmi, Uranus, shock and awe, governmental monies. So yes, you're definitely able to do that. This flow to Uranus, though, doesn't happen until the first week of December. But it could indicate some financial abundance from shocks and surprises you, comes out of the blue through a lottery win, an institutional setting, money from an institutional setting, sudden prosperity or luck or money from, I say father figures, educational settings, like maybe a bursary or a scholarship offer, money that you could get through court settlements and legal settlements as well. So some good financial luck could be befalling you a bit here coming through the first week. Otherwise, it's a sudden opportunity the first week of December for a long distance travel opportunity connected to romantic love or your children. And you're surprised because you're going to go on a jet plane. I'm only on Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Oh, well, let's talk about it. So you last saw Venus moving through this part of your sky last year. Oh, I don't know. My notes are now disappeared. But anyway, just trust me, it was last year. Not to worry, you know. There it is, January 23rd to February 16th. But well, co-present with Pluto. And this is her finishing up a story with Pluto that started in 2008. So how are you transforming? Like, it's like deconstruct to reconstruct your relationship to your childhood, to your parents, to your siblings, the people you lived with at your hometown, the roots of your childhood and the stories and the traumas of your childhood, your ancestral line stories as well. You have been dying and being born in relationship to those Phoenix rising type narratives, right? Phoenix rising is very archetypally Plutonian. And here Venus is doing a light co-presence with Pluto, but you're not done yet. There's a last kind of digging up beneath the surface of your childhood and your family of origin stories in order to finish this process up. between November 11th and January and November the 19th, when Pluto is still with Venus in your fourth house. Then Pluto moves on. It definitely can bring you some wealth regarding property, land, and real estate, and even potentially rentals. So because of the sextile to Saturn, it could be that you're going to lease a property and make a lot of money as a landlord, or you're going to be a tenant and get a great deal on a property financially. So you could be having money stability through rental property matters. Also, good things can come through your work environment during this transit, stabilizing things in the work environment vis-a-vis your home life. And maybe more opportunities to work from home if that's something you want to do. Venus will be at the bending of the node of fate, the south bender she is, on around the 15th, 16th, 17th of the month. And in this regard, you are coming into a turning point. The turning point has something to do with a fated destined letting go or surrender or release of matters connected to your identity, particularly you being single or unmarried or unwed or childless or relationship-less, right? Because this is like the celibate, unmarried, sacrificial priestess archetype. And priest or priestess, be a man or woman, it doesn't matter. And the idea here is, what are you letting go of that connects you to the archetype of priesthood? And as you're thinking about this sacred surrender and letting go, Venus is chiming in. And then we pivot from pleasure in our home, love in our home, love close to home, a cozy, loving home, a beautiful home, by the way. Venus helps you decorate the home and find beautiful things for a home when she transits through this part of your chart. So you may be like doing a little interior decorating, November 11th to December 6th. She hit that bending of the node of fate in February 7th, 2024, not with the Vestal flame there, just literally what parts of your identity were you letting go of, especially if you were a Libra, anywhere between 15 to 21 degrees of Libra. That was the 18-degree bending. So you, Libra, sun, moon, and rising, 15 to 21 degrees of Libra, really felt it that last February. This time around, the Libras will feel it most strongly are Libras in the first 6 degrees, 0 to 6 degrees, sun, moon, or rising. But you're still all feeling it. It's just more intense for those specific degrees. I love Venus here because she does love to be enjoying her private home life away from the public eye and work. And there's a lot of transformation going on in this transit because of the co-presence at the start of Pluto. But you're also changing you. You're letting go of an old sense of self, a false sense of self. When the North Node is transiting your seventh house, some of you will bring destined brand new relationships and heal that chironic wound at last around committed business and love stories. So there could be a profound shift in your perspective to love and love close to home, and how your idea of love in a relationship is being shifted or pivoting from sort of a new unearthing of childhood patterns, and maybe a letting go, right, of how those patterns formed the character of you, the Libra character of you. On Venus finally in Algol, there's a lot of excitement here. Venus flowing to Algol can bring some chunky money through inheritances, property, resources, financial matters in the first week of December that come from like selling a property, buying a property, getting an inheritance, getting money from a mother or mother figure. Boom, and increase in your chunky money, some money luck from something you're doing in and from the home. I don't mean luck per se, but like, oh my God, I was working so hard on this project for the boss and they gave me a bonus pay or something. So there's an increase, a chunk of money that can come at you from this transit up here, right here. All right. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Well, Venus is going to be moving through Boss Babe Capricorn zone from November the 11th to December 6th, as she did last year, January 23rd to February 16th. This time, however, she's co-present with Pluto, and therefore there's an intensity that's been going on here as these two planets were meeting since 2008, almost every year. They skipped a beat last time. So last January through to February 16th, there was no Pluto presence there. So this is kind of like how you're finishing up a grand finale on stories that began regarding siblings aunts, uncles, cousins, nephews, nieces. Stories connected to neighbors and neighborhoods, short distance travel, and your everyday world that you live in, the stores and shops and restaurants you go to on the daily. This is also a house of marketing and selling and communicating, and it's a house of ideas. And you've been having Phoenix rising transformations here. In particular, it's the house of the sibling one younger. Now, on this time around, she's at the bending of the nodes of fate on between the 14th and the 17th of November. Really, it's spread it that far here. And she's talking about some pivotal destined turning point connected to matters of the 12th. Now, this is a soul work house. This is a moksha house, but it's also addiction. So letting go of an addiction or self-undoing or having a spiritual awakening can happen off of this. That's true, because those kinds of letting goes in the 12th house are really, really spiritual energies. However, the flow to the square to Venus at the bending of the nodes, you felt this energy on February the 7th. 2024, give or take a few days, right? Were you working on projects home alone that were to do with communications, writing, marketing, selling, websites, all of them, TikTok and everything? And what kind of projects were you working on back in, February 7th last year? And what pivoted, destined turning point things happened then? I think my Scorpio rising sun had a viral hit on TikTok at that time, mini viral for his music. Venus here has been at the bending of the nodes before, the south node bending in particular, on January of 2005 and November of 2005 and February of 1987. So those might be some comparison points as well for you to take and look at. If you're going to let go of something here, the axis of, the nodes themselves on 6 and 12 indicate letting go of karmic patterns, particularly karmic patterns revolving around service to a debt, karmic debt. And you could fracture or break karmic debt relationships and karmic debt servicing as well. Destined travel opportunities, short distance, destined learning opportunities as well can come with Venus at this placement. And relationships to those extended family members or neighbors are going to have some pretty intense energy for you around this time of November 15th, give or take a few days on either side, and see if that felt true at all last February. But understanding we didn't have Pluto here last February, so it's not as intense last February of 2024. Then we can say Venus is flowing to Saturn during her transit, and that's all about how you want to stabilize your creativity, your romantic and sex life, maybe involving travel opportunities with your loved one, getaway weekends to stabilize the romance. You might also be looking at fertility trips, getting away for a love fest in order to conceive a child. You might also notice that your creativity is really picking up. You're more steady in your creative artistic gains and actions are just kind of stabilized and you're enjoying it. I wonder too, with Venus also sextiling Neptune, some dreamy project could go really well for you on the internet if it involves music or if it involves any of the videography platforms on YouTube, etc. And you might have a bit of a good glow going on with those things, especially closer to the first week of December when she trines Neptune, sextiles Neptune. She's also trining Uranus on Algol, a wealth star in your 7th house, but this is surprises connected to your business partner, audience, marketplace, and long-term love stories. If you put stuff into the audience and marketplace, like on YouTube or TikTok or something down here, 3rd house, and it flows to a shock and awe moment with Venus, the goddess of the arts, in the 3rd house of social media, end of story. Something could go viral. Something could really take off for you. This is happening again the first week of December. Use it or lose it. Finally, any agreements you want to make that are contractual go very well during this transit because of her flowing relationship to Juno, the goddess of contractual marriage and business agreements, and indicating agreements connected to writing projects or online media, social media, or creative art projects, etc., or neighbors and neighborhood projects can go very, very well. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's your story. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps my channel grow. And I appreciate that. Let's see. Let's go back to the story of Venus in Capricorn every year or twice a year sometimes. Venus is going to be moving through a part of the sky that gives you a whole lot of love in your money and your earnings and your resources and your possessions. She's going to enrich you here, and she does it on the regular. She also was here last January 23rd to February 16th, but not in the same way. This is because she's co-present with Pluto this time until November the 19th. She has been doing this co-presence with Pluto and conjunctions, by the way, since 2008. So you've been going through some really cathartic death and rebirth, deconstruct, reconstruct matters to do with your values around things in life, what you value, what your values are, what your worth is, what your relationship to wealth, prosperity, and money is in terms of meeting your survival, food, shelter, and water needs. These have been deep soul dives for you, a reinvention since 2008. Now, this is not so intense as that, some of those other ones, but Venus Pluto could be about a bit of a wealth up for you. And you might be taking some harvests, like the fruits falling from the tree. Ceres is here. Ceres is the goddess of the harvest on Pluto. And you may just be coming into a bit of a financial reaping or harvest cycle during the entirety of this transit, but particularly November 11th to the 19th. Financial reaping, financial harvesting. Also, Venus going through your second house will hit the bending of the nodes of fate on the 15th of November, a couple days before and after. This is going to indicate a fated turning point where you need to let go of something in the 11th house. It could be letting go of a dream, a goal, a wish, or an aspiration, but it will benefit you financially. It could be letting go of some career gain structures, or a friendship or a group of belonging, but it will benefit you financially because the pivot point comes through the money house. You might have to have a letting go conversation with someone, where it's time to let go of that relationship. The moon is the ruler of the 8th house of shared resources with a significant other. There may be a difficult letting go type conversation around money with a significant marriage type partnership person for some of you, if you're in the partnership already. You compare the bending of the nodes of fate to February 7th, what happened then, compare it as well of 2024, compare it as well to January and November of 2005, and compare it to February of 1987. You continually re-experience this kind of South Node energy, letting go in the 11th, connected to your voice or to your earnings or your possessions, and all of the money stories as well. Venus is loving up Saturn in your 4th house, and that flow between Venus and Saturn can stabilize and improve your home life, especially regarding possessions for your home. You may get a car, some new item of furniture you really want, or if you've been lonely or alone in the house, feeling isolated somehow, the movement of Saturn direct is helping you move away from that with Venus's support. This transit through November 11th to December 6th could help stabilize you, feeling more positive about life and about yourself and about whatever goes on in your private domestic life with those with whom you live. Saturn can be an elder living with you, and Venus is money in the elder. Now you have money for the elder to live with you, or money for the elder to move out to a care home. Those kinds of things could also occur here. And near the end of the story, let's go to the first week of December. Venus is flowing not only to Neptune, but also to Uranus on Algol. There could be a dreamy opportunity to rent a property, a dreamy opportunity to sell a property, a dreamy opportunity to get unexpected gains. A dreamy opportunity is Neptune, but this is a sudden, shocking, surprising part of the story. And it's going to form like a little mini grand trine. That'll be in my weekly astrology, but I'm wondering if you're going to have a sudden, shocking surprise that's positive regarding pets, home matters, rentals, and tenancies, and money. Look for those things to pop for you in the first week of December. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. Venus is going through November 11th to December 6th, the Capricorn sky, which is your sky, right? You are that place. So you are always going to enjoy this transit because you get more handsome and beautiful, and your wardrobe improves, and you're more charming, and you're charming and persuasive and likable and congenial and social, and people like you more during this transit. You last had this charm offensive January 23rd to February 16th of 2024. So you've been through it before, but this is a little different because we have Pluto co-present until November the 19th. So Venus-Pluto makes you very powerful, very magnetic, very charismatic, very dauntingly so. But any unresolved issues in your life to do with toxic love, brutal love, difficult money wealth stories, anything that you haven't resolved within yourself in particular, if it's your son, it could be about your career, but it's definitely all about you, then you're going to be going through a last bit of a catharsis here around those money stories or those toxic love stories, or, love is transformative, but love is a fire that burns me, or something like that. Yeah. Now, on the other hand, you've been living with Pluto anyway since 2008. If you haven't figured it out now, you never will. And Venus is just doing the final act on this story. And then Pluto's gone November 19th. I'll be doing a video on that, and gone for good, right? You can wipe at your hands of that guy. Venus at the bending of the notes of fate will happen around the 15th of November, a couple days before and after. Venus is going to bend the South Node and ask for a surrender, release, and letting go of your reputation, of your social standing, and of your career and purpose matters. Now, if this is happening with a Vestal flame of devotion, it may also be something to do with letting go of something that you thought you had a devotional duty to, whether it is, a career path, or it is something to do with your social standing. When Venus is at the bending of the nodes of fate, where you have experienced this before, you want to go back to February 7th, 2024, and ask yourself if you can remember some pivot points between what you value, what you want, and what you desire, Venus in the first house, and what must be surrendered or released or let go of, or just experiencing as a disappointment in the career and reputation, purpose, and social standing part of your sky. And Venus is also going to be, and you want to go back and compare to January of 2005, November of 2005, February of 1987, when Venus was also in the house of you, squaring the South Node in your 10th house. You have gone through this before. It's not your first time. So ask yourself, what did you let go of in 10th house matters? That includes the house of weddings. So some of you may have divorced or separated from somebody. Some of you may have let go of your social status or your career path. So you're back again at asking the same old question. And, you see if you can make note comparisons to the past. Venus is loving Saturn a lot, and Saturn is loving Venus. They actually have fondness for each other. They're in a mutual reception by exaltation house and all of that. And I'll be covering that in my weekly video in more details, but it is like a good dynamic between the two of them. And so Venus wants to help stabilize or bring down to real concrete form third house considerations. And this is what you want, you desire, because Venus is in the sign of your Capricorn nature. And so you might want to stabilize something to do with travel plans, local neighbor and neighborhood situations, some stabilizing or restoring of a relationship with a sibling, aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, and nephew. And that can involve travel as well regarding those types of people. And again, this is a theme that you're feeling through the entirety of the November 11th to December 6th transit, but it comes a lot more active closer to the third week of November. And short distance travel for love or romantic storylines can be very successful. But with Saturn, going on a trip to a place that's very safe, very traditional, right? And Neptune gets involved as well. Venus will sextile Neptune in the first week of December, and it opens up dreamy travel opportunities for love and romance, basically, in the first week of December, or maybe the last week of November, first week of December, you begin to feel some of that becoming true. And she's also going to, Venus, she's also going to flow to Uranus with Algol. That's a wealth star, and it's a luck house, and it's her house. And she's applying to the luck house planet. Shock and awe surprise, it is a house of winning money. So again, not considering it's for sure, but you may be able to win money in a lottery or some other lucky break during her transit, especially the first week of December. And so look for lucky opportunities to win money if it's going to happen, because Neptune kind of gets into a mini grand trine. It could involve money that you're getting from winning money from third house places. But unfortunately, today, the third house is our local neighborhood and a virtual neighborhood. So you can go down to the 7-Eleven, buy a ticket, or you can order it online. It doesn't really matter. It's just going to kaboom. Also, sudden, shocking, surprising developments regarding your children, but they're positive, and maybe travel opportunities involving your children as well. Conception is possible. Venus is a fertility goddess in the house of your body. People who are a Capricorn ascendant could be conceiving a child during this narrative. If you're of the age of conception, for men, you can fertilize someone forever. For women, it's different. All right, now we're moving on to Aquarius. I am one of you. Sun, moon, and rising sign. We have Venus moving through Capricorn. She arrives on the doorstep of Capricorn November 11th and leaves on the 6th. Last day in there is December the 6th. This is a transit that is very deeply spiritual for you, but also gives you a lot of enjoyment of solitude, bed pleasures, alone home, downtime, what you're doing behind the scenes, particularly like it's a solitude and isolation place. And when Venus is here, we enjoy isolation and solitude. We don't mind it. We find ourselves creative or enjoying the quietness of being alone. Oh, it's just not a bad transit for all that sort of like wind down, November 11th to December 6th. Now, she's with Pluto, and she's been in and out of this story since 2008. Pluto, Venus in the 12th house. 12th house is an enlightenment house. It's a house of self-undoing and self-sabotage and addictions. It's a house of money generated from far off foreign shores and lands. She's promising with Neptune, with Pluto, since 2008, get rid of the addictions, have a spiritual awakening in the divine feminine way, enjoy your solitude and solace, power up there, but also you could power up financially into a wealth union here, and you have been doing it anyway since 2008 by making money from international sources, international companies, or international travel, or international borderless income and revenue. So I've done that because I've been making money online since 2012 when I started working for magazines online as an editor. What else can I say about this? Well, Venus is also going to come into a bending of the nodes of fate on November 15th, go 2 days before and after. She bends the south node. And so this is all about things to do with pulling, surrender, release, and letting go in the 9th house of the following themes into this narrative from a nice, deep, soul-searching place. And I should also mention, this is also a travel house, the 12th house. You could travel, pleasurable travel to far off foreign shores and lands connected to the south node here, destined trips to far off foreign shores that you have been to before. The south node is about the past. It may be past lives. Or it could be just past places you've traveled in this life. So one way of coding Venus at the bending of the nodes of fate on November the 15th or so is a trip to a foreign land opportunity arises. And that could be all that is. However, you had this last February on the 7th of February, and maybe you can compare notes about any opportunities you had for travel in the February of that year and see if 2024, if you did do anything to do with far off foreign shore land travel, etc. You had Venus at the bending in the nodes, south node here, January and November of 2005. And February of 1987, if you wish to compare notes and see if you did anything there. Now, soul work is definitely the 12th house, and spiritual revelation and divine downloads and Akashic records and past lives. And the south node is in the house of God. So some spiritual awakening, spiritual revelations are quite possible for a lot of you here. If you're at all involved in things to do with spiritual communities, spiritual philosophy, churches, religions. There's a south node here. It may be about letting go of some of your beliefs, your spiritual philosophy, and your spiritual ideals. Coming into a critical turning point. The house of the first marriage is the seventh, second house is the second. I always forget to cover everybody else. And third marriage, which I'm on, is the ninth. And so you might have to surrender and release situations involving a third marriage partnership. And that makes sense because Mars in the seventh house can cut, end, and sever long-term relationships, but also cut, end, and sever just because there's distance. People are apart from each other geographically. So there might just be some geographical distance in a long-term committed love story. If it's kind of like your third marriage type partnership as well. I know she does flow to Saturn. It's good for your money. Like, that's the good news here. This transit will increase your financial stability, especially if it's from things you're doing privately, home alone, in the quietude of your solitude, or if it's in things that connect you to foreign income or making money from a foreign land or while you're in a foreign land. And those will be producing fabuloso results as she sextiles Saturn, particularly the third week of November. As well, you're going to notice that she's in a beautiful flow to Neptune in the first week of December. That's something like dreamy outcomes financially connected to your resources. Also, Saturn says constrain, constrict, and conserve and restrict and create a wall or a boundary around a food style. And Venus is the goddess of pleasure in a house of addictions. Honestly, it just looks like a great rehab transit as well, or a transit for you to really take more seriously better measures around your health and dietary style. And the dreamy Neptune thing can be some just dreamy glow up in your finances, especially if you're a musician, an artist, or you use videography platforms online. So financial glow up the first week of December. Algol, the wealth star in the house of property, land, home, and real estate, is getting activated on Uranus, and Venus is flowing to Uranus. So, and they're moving toward each other. So there's a real meeting of minds here. Uranus is retrograde. So there's a possible exciting opportunity regarding property, land, home, and far off foreign shores. Or maybe something to do with financial matters, spending, but positive spending to do with property and land and home. And again, things you want to bring into your home that are beautiful, but they connect to the solitude part of your life, like a new bed, but there's some kind of surprise here because Algol is on, Uranus is on the surprise or unexpected developments regarding your home in a positive flow to Venus in the house of far off places and lands. And if it's not that, it could be more spiritual awakening because Uranus is in the house of ancestors and childhood, and it's a moksha liberation house. Venus is there as well in a liberation house, and you might have a massive spiritual awakening hit you of some sort, like an electric shock of awakening from some kind of ancestral or familial pattern or habit that no longer needs to be in your life. Boom, just gonna obliterate it. That's what I see here. You've had the spending of the nodes of fate. Did I say this already? February 7th, January and November of 2005, February of 1987. And yeah, so I think I covered that. And the other bending of the nodes of fate timeframes, right? But I gave you the other stuff as well. Yeah, the later stuff. Moving on. Last and never least, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Pisces, it is quite a story for you because, of course, Venus is a exaltation lord for your sign. So you like the Libras and the Tauruses need to watch what that girl's up to in the sky. This goddess is moving November 11th to December 6th through Capricorn. This is always going to feel good for you. It happened last January 23rd of 24 to February 16th. So you get good gains in your career. You get some dreamy actualizations of some of your wishes and goals. You might find yourself making new friends or enjoying the company of the friends you have. You might find yourself joining new communities and groups of belonging as well. And this is all about the pleasure and the enjoyment of these things. Your sibling, one older than you, belongs to this house, and you may have benefits coming through the sky from that sibling towards you during this transit. Venus in this part of the sky is really, really all about helping you receive the rewards of life. And so it's a very good spirit. It's a very good transit. As she's moving through this part of the sky, She's co-present with Pluto. And this is the last time in your life you'll have that last in a lifetime co-presence with Pluto. And so you won't be able to experience this again. You may as well receive it now. It is telling you that you need to think about what it is that you've been doing since 2008, where you've been like a death and rebirth type of narrative regarding that relationship to your friendship circles, your groups of belonging, your career earnings and gains, your rewards of life, and certainly a wholesale transformation since 2008 of what you want to dream into your life that brings you joy and pleasure, some of your long range goals. Those have been deeply transformed over the course of the last 16, 17 years. And now this is the last time you're going to get this transit. She's co-present until November 19th. So between the 11th and the 19th, you could get wealthy from a sibling one older than you. You could get some great career gains, get a new job, raise promotion, find yourself coming into a deeper sense of karmic and cosmic rewards of all kinds that are powerful, rich, and transformative. Allies and benefactors, people who want to look over and help you like a big sister and brother, those people may be wealthy, are at your disposal at this time during this transit. Venus is going to square the nose of fate on November the 15th, 2 days before and after. The square or the bending of the South Node happened last on February 7th of 2024. It's back again. Here we go. Now, Venus will be sitting in the relationship to the South Node of fate, asking you to let go of some kind of matters connected to money that you share with your spouse, an inheritance from the sale of a property. Now, you don't have to let it go, like I'm going to give you the money, but there's some kind of disappointment, release, or surrender involved in those types of financial narratives. You could even just have a disappointment in a tax rebate, for goodness sakes, but it is like about a surrendered state of being regarding chunky money matters. You do have some spiritual liberation available in the 8th house, and you might have some shift of your spiritual life. Vestal flames like a priestess. South Node is the deep spiritual awareness of our true nature. And it's in an 8th house to let go of an old identity, an egoic structure that does not anymore serve you, so that you could have greater enjoyment of life's rewards. Because it is the most karmic house, the 8th house, and a lot of our life's rewards come through the 11th. Venus is also flowing and go back to January of 2005 and November of 2005. What happened with those 11th house, 8th house themes, and also February of 1987. And then we want to talk about her flowing to Saturn. Wow. You are Saturn these days. I always say this to you guys. You got like either you're lonely, bored, depressed, or anxious, or you're got a backbone and you're responsible and you're perseverant and you're disciplined and you're wise and sage. Like take Saturn on the shadow if you like, or take him on the upside, but you're doing the Saturnian version. You're the wise man, wise woman, crone, senex. This is your turn. No matter how old you are, if you have a Pisces rising, you are getting to be Saturn. Sun is connecting you to career matters and stability. Oh, and it's a Sadisate if it's your moon, right? Just Google it, SADE. SATI. And it's a very intense peak period of a 7-year journey of transformation. So having this story of Saturn in the sky for you, looking over at Venus and Venus at Saturn, especially around, the 17th to the 21st of the month, is indicating some positive karmic rewards flowing to you. And you have this sort of responsible way of receiving those rewards in a clear-minded, sober, realistic manner. And it could be gifts or rewards from a sibling, one older than you, or people who want to be allies and benefactors towards you. Or a friend, just any old friend, giving you some positive rewards. This is also Venus flowing to Neptune. Now, this is your goals of fantasized, dreamy imaginings since 2011 of what you want in life. It's not been easy for Pisces because you've been untethered, unmoored, maybe slightly foggy and unsure, deluded or confused, maybe had a lot of inertia as Neptune has traveled through Pisces since 2011. And now we see Venus flowing to this Pisces here. Because Neptune will leave this part of the sky forever in 2026, February. So you got this coming to the close of this story as well. What are some of the long range goals and dreams and you've cherished and fantasized and held in your imagination and your visionary capacity for yourself and for your life, that Venus can, like a fairy godmother in the 11th house, try to make those wishes and dreams come true? And if there's any possibility of wish fulfillment moments, it looks like it's coming the first week of December. And while she sextiles Neptune, she also will trine Algol, and that creates a mini grand trine. So what happens is that it's like there can be some really intense and positive surprises that you didn't expect coming from the house of siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, long distance travel right here, a sibling one younger than you, short distance travel, writing projects, social media land, online media platforms. Boom, surprise, Venus, rewards, Saturn, Neptune, dreams come true. So rewards and dreams come true is a possibility of some kind. An unexpected travel opportunity with siblings, an unexpected financial reward from your career connected to travel, unexpected social media glow up with a great deal of celebrity coming your way. A really nice opportunity for an idea that you have, especially if it's a writing project, or maybe it is the writing project already, having a sudden benefactor, ally, someone who wants to support it. You could even find this kind of more like a shock in your daily life, going to the grocery store, going to the gas station. Your everyday life is your third house, daily environment. And all of a sudden there's a surprise meeting with a female friend that you hadn't seen in years. And boom, it leads to a dream come true. Some fantasy dream that she can help you make true, or he. And this is coming through the sky the first week of December. All right, so hopefully this is all interesting to you, the bending of the nodes of fate particularly. I'll be diving a little bit more into this on the weekly video when this comes up, because I'll be adding the minor asteroids and the fixed stars involved, having a weird hair day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It does help the channel grow, and that does really help me thrive. I'm trying to get to 100,000 by the end of the year. If you're one of my regulars and you think you're subscribed, can you double check? I got a big sub dump for 30 days. 30 days. They started dumping subs out in September, and it took 30 days for them to stop. Yeah, like seriously. So I'm filling my bucket up with new subs, and I've got a leaky boat. And a lot of you checked and you found out you were unsubscribed, and you didn't unsubscribe. So if you have not checked, see if you're still on my subscriptions list and notifications bell and all of the other stuff. Whew. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, 2025 All Signs Bundle, $44. What a deal. That's like 12 videos times 2 hours. That's 240 hours of video content. What a deal. And you can share it with friends and family. It's private, unlisted videos. And you get that when you get the pre-sale price before November 15th, or buy your individual sign for $22. Okay? Choose your sun, your moon, or your rising. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.